Hello, dear friends. Today is June 24th, 2026, and this is our regular review of the combat map. This will be a compact edition. There isn't much frontline news over the past day, and what's notable is that almost all of it concerns advances inside the cities currently being stormed. The key changes are still on the Kostiantynivka and Krasny Lyman directions. There are shifts on the Sloviansk direction, as well as near Vovchansk, around Kozacha Lopan, and on the Sumy direction. We'll go through all of it today, and, as always, before we begin, I'd sincerely like to ask you to subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, a single press of the button, but for me it's serious support. If you're watching these reviews not for the first time but still haven't subscribed, and even if this is your first time here, please subscribe. It's the subscription, more than anything, that pushes this video forward. Thank you to everyone already with us. Let's start with the Zaporizhzhia direction, quickly through the news, then on to the changes. Some Russian war correspondents claim that Stepnohursk has been fully taken under control. This information does not match reality. There is no confirming data on the settlement passing entirely to the Russian army. The same goes for Primorsk. It has not passed under the full control of the Russian military. The latest reports from this sector came from several points. In one place, the AFU, Armed Forces of Ukraine, advanced about 2 kilometers, in another up to 1 kilometer, and on yet another stretch roughly 1.5. I'll remind you that the larger part of both Primorsk and Stepnohursk was already held by the AFU earlier. Russian FPV drones are working actively here against Ukrainian units, and a number of sources report heavy AFU losses on this stretch. Even so, the settlement has not yet been taken under full Russian control. It was occupied earlier, but Russian forces were later compelled to abandon it. Right now, the larger part of it is held by the AFU, and where Ukrainian forces are thin on the ground, it's more of a grey zone, but by no means under Russian control. No confirmation to the contrary has come in. Let's move on. On the Orikhiv direction, the news comes from Novodanilivka. Earlier, footage arrived from there showing a Russian presence on the southern outskirts. However, the settlement has not passed entirely under Russian control. Despite reports that the larger part has been taken, in fact the main body of the village remains a grey zone. Ukrainian units in the north, a Russian presence in the south, and the central, largest part neutral. So no advance has been recorded here as of recording. There's no objective data favoring either side. The picture is similar in Malotokmachka. The west is held by the AFU, the east has a Russian presence, and the center is mostly a grey zone. On to the Huliaipole direction. There's been less and less news from here lately, and practically no advance is being recorded. Some sources claim Russian forces are gradually pressing through AFU defenses, but there's no confirmation of this. The front line is active but not moving. There are reports that the front is being straightened between Vovchansk and Bilohoria. South of Vovchansk, defenses are being reinforced and the line of contact straightened. I'll remind you that earlier, Ukrainian forces had pushed in from the direction of Rivne and Dolinka towards Zelina. AFU groups were recorded there, but they were destroyed. Today, no changes in either side's favor have come in as of recording. Next, the Dnipro direction, and here too it's only news. It comes from the area of Kalinivska and Verbov. Russian forces are reported to continue holding Verbov and, according to several sources, to be expanding their zone of control around it, as well as holding the southeastern part of Kalinivsky. The larger part of Novomykolivka has passed under Russian control, but there is also data on a Ukrainian military presence. Although on the map we see open fields, all that ground has long been churned up with fortifications, trench lines, shelters, effectively an entire system of burrows. So an AFU presence on the sector persists. Russian units are advancing in a particular configuration, but they aren't yet encircling Ukrainian forces. Doing so is extremely difficult. There are no serious changes, though the front line remains active. Moving on, the Dobropilya direction, again only news. Active fighting continues here near Hryshyn. Russian FPV teams are working against AFU positions in the Serhivka area. East of it, Ukrainian vehicles are being recorded, and these teams are working them over successfully, destroying armor. Active operations are also underway in Velykyi itself. There are reports of a gradual expansion of the Russian zone of control toward Shevchenko. I'll remind you that the abandoned mine remains under AFU control. At the same time, Ukrainian forces have pushed Russian forces back in the direction of Rodinske from the Shevchenko side. As of recording, the front line is unchanged, but forward Russian positions were noted at several points, so significant shifts are possible here in the near future. On to Kostiantynivka. Here we have both footage and confirming news. Over the past day, objective control footage came in from the Novoselivka micro-district. A Russian serviceman came under AFU fire. Russian forces advanced up to 2 kilometers in Kostiantynivka and expanded their zone of control, reaching the western edge of the city. A number of pro-Russian mapping services are coloring this territory as fully Russian. How far that matches reality isn't entirely clear yet, but I've marked the map accordingly. I'll adjust it as data comes in. There are also reports that the entire eastern part of the city has already been cleared and passed under Russian control, but no objective control footage has come from there yet. I'll remind you, Kostiantynivka is for the most part a grey zone. There are many infiltrating Russian units in the city, setting up flags and effectively pushing out into the northern part. A Russian presence has been noted at a number of points. It's important to understand that even after the city is taken, it will still have to be cleared and demined. Despite the red coloring, that whole territory is not under full control. Scattered AFU groups remain here. Ukrainian sources report the situation is stable, but that data does not match reality. Kostiantynivka passing under Russian control looks like a matter of time, but we're talking not about a day or two, rather several weeks, possibly up to a month. We won't make predictions, we'll just observe. There are also reports of an expanding zone of control near Dova Balka. The settlement itself is fully under Russian control, and the movement is going north of it. As for the past day's advance, there's data on the front being straightened between Kostiantynivka and Molokharka. This sector, by the reports, is already held by the Russian military. Confirming material will likely appear in the next couple of days. Next, the Sloviansk direction, where there are changes in footage. Let's start in the south with the Tikhonivka area. Russian forces moved into the eastern outskirts, dug in, and advanced roughly 2 kilometers. Now some mapping services are coloring the entire territory west of Holubivka and Minkivka, up to the Siversky Donets-Donbass Canal as Russian. If the data is confirmed, I'll mark it. The same with Urivka. The settlement has already been taken. The zone of control around it is expanding, and pro-Russian services have colored the whole area in Russia's favor. But how far that's true, only time and confirmation will show. Today, 2 video materials came in from the Rye-Oleksandrivka area and from Kalinike. On Rye-Oleksandrivka, positional fighting in the Siversk area, Russian forces expanded their zone of control by more than 1 kilometer and took positions south of the settlement. A forward position was shelled by a Ukrainian drone. The territory marked in red has today passed under full Russian control. On Russian TV, they speak of Rye-Oleksandrivka being fully taken. What's meant is a presence in the settlement, but full passage requires clearing both the village and its surroundings. Even so, Russian forces are already on many sectors inside it, so the larger part has been cleared and is under control. The second clip, west of Kalinike, a Russian observation post, was shelled by the AFU. Russian units advanced more than 800 meters and took positions on the Rye-Oleksandrivka-Piskunivka line. This is additional confirmation of a presence. The advance here had been recorded earlier as well. On Kriva Luka, a number of services are coloring vast territories from Dnipro to Kriva Luka in Russia's favor, while Ukrainian sources say part of Kriva Luka is held by the AFU. Neither claim has confirmation. There's no objective data on an advance by either side. At the same time, there's news that Russian forces are expanding control near Kriva Luka and moving toward Piskunivka, striking Ukrainian positions as well as expanding the zone toward Mykolaiivka. From a number of points there, footage of a Russian presence had appeared earlier, and key heights have been taken, meaning further advance could go faster. As of recording, there are no changes. On to Lyman, this is the second city being stormed where there's progress over the day. The advance is very small, but it's there. Another block of multi-story development was taken between Ivan Leko Street and Telerafny Lane. The most important part of Lyman is the southern, densely built-up multi-story Pivdeny micro-district, and it is gradually passing under Russian control. Fast progress isn't to be expected here. Multi-story development plus the proximity of forested areas create ideal conditions for the defending side. Even units that are knocked out can roll back in from the woods and try to retake positions. Even so, Russian forces are managing, methodically, block by block, to push out the Ukrainian forces. At the same time, caution remains regarding the rest of the coloring around Lyman. Some pro-Russian sources and war bloggers are coloring vast territories as fully Russian, but there's no confirmation of this, and the northern sector itself remains a grey zone. I'd ask you not to rely rigidly on the map's colors. It may diverge from the actual situation. Once full passage of Lyman is announced, I'll color it in the primary shade. There was also unfavorable news for the Russian side from the Lyman sector, from the bridgehead beyond the Siversky Donets. I'll remind you that Russian forces had earlier crossed the river and established a bridgehead, taking control of Prishayb and entering Tetyannivka, where they dug in without fully clearing it. They were unable to hold. Was this expected? Certainly. Supply came only across a wide river, and the Siversky Donets is not the Vovcha or the Solona. It's a wide river, and setting up proper logistics under constant AFU drone attacks is an enormous problem. They tried to supply by drone alone, but it didn't work, and in the end they withdrew from these positions. The decision looks correct. There's no point sitting without supply under fire and losing people. The Rush attempt to take Tetyannivka and the heights with the Sviatohirsk Lavra didn't succeed, so the positions were given up. A bit further north, the Borova area. Over the day, material came in from near Sverdlivka. Active fighting, Ukrainian servicemen taking new positions under Russian fire. An AFU advance of up to a kilometer along the bed of the Kolesnikivka. Accordingly, there's coloring in the AFU's favor. The stretch marked in yellow is under Ukrainian control today. And again, it's premature to speak of full control over the Luhansk region, despite claims that it's been 100% taken. An AFU presence persists here, which means the region is not yet under full Russian control. Next, Kupiansk, the third city with an advance over the day. Objective control footage came in from 3 locations in the left bank part of the city, all along Alavina Street. Russian control on the map has been expanded slightly to the south, and the footage seems to confirm this. But it's not that simple. There is indeed no Ukrainian control here, which is precisely why Russian troops can walk down the street with a flag and capture it all on a drone. However, there's no full stable Russian control either. The eastern bank is markedly lower than the right bank, while the western bank is mostly held by the AFU, and nobody is going to sit under constant artillery and drone fire. It's more of a buffer zone. No Ukrainian forces, but Russian troops aren't entrenching there either, and the AFU don't even try to dart in. I'll add to this the earlier reports. Russian infiltration groups were moving with flags through the Zaoskilia industrial zone and near the Kupiansk-Sotuvalny railway station, showing them to a drone. In other words, actual activity is wider than what's marked on the map, and significant changes are possible here in the near future. Further north, the Velykyi Burluk direction, where there are changes. They occurred earlier, but I only marked them today. Novovasilivka is under Russian control, as is the stretch marked in red. There are reports of an expanding zone northeast of Fiholivka, but I haven't yet been able to find confirming data for that stretch. When it appears, I'll make the edits. On to Vovchansk. Today 1 video material came in, plus reports of a small expansion of the Russian zone of control east of Vilcha. From the footage, positional fighting in the Kharkiv security zone, Russian forces expanded control around Vovchansk by more than a kilometer. A Russian serviceman came under AFU fire on the railway south of the city. The coloring here was done earlier. Now there's again data on a wider zone of control. Once confirmed, I'll mark it. In Kostiantynivka Lopan, an advance is also being recorded. It was already marked yesterday, with the whole area highlighted in red under Russian control. Today, new material came in. Positional fighting in the Kharkiv security zone. A forward Russian position in the residential blocks of Kostiantynivka Lopan was shelled by the AFU. Russian units advanced up to 500 meters and expanded control in the northern part. I didn't add any further coloring. This sector was already marked yesterday, and I simply logged the fresh footage. And we'll finish with the Sumy direction. Fighting continues here on the Krasnopilia direction, in the area of Ryazne, Taratutin, Novodmitrivka, and Pokrovka. Russian forces are moving toward Krasnopilia, but no advance is being recorded there. There are shifts near Myropilia and Zaporizhzhia, where active fighting is underway. An advance in Russia's favor has been recorded south of Myropilia. Movement has also been noted in the Mala Korchakivka and Korchakivka area. It occurred yesterday and the day before, and was put on the map today as reliable data came in. There's an advance south of Andriivka and west of Mala Korchakivka. The whole territory marked in red is under Russian control today. There's information on an expanding zone near Kondrativka, but as of recording in advance, there is not confirmed. That's all I have for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Ruslan Belov.